Hello puzzle people, welcome if it's your first time here, welcome back if you've been here before. This is chapter 12 of my puzzle story. In today's video I'll be talking about my individual preparations for the 2025 World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships, which will officially start on September 16th, 2025. I've mentioned in previous chapters the individual rounds are what I'm the most nervous for. Everything is on the individual, there's no one else to rely on, no teammates, no partners. So there's added pressure to it. And in my opinion, it's the main reason to be going over to the World Championships. The pairs and teams events are an added bonus, but the individual rounds let you really compare yourself to some of the other amazing speed puzzlers in the world. If you've watched some of my other videos, I might have made it a little bit obvious that I do like to incorporate math and statistics into my analysis and puzzling, and that's not going to be any different in this video. To me, puzzling is a lot more than just opening a box and putting 500 pieces together as fast as possible. That is one aspect of puzzling for sure, but in able to progress and see improvements and know where to work on, you have to look at the information behind everything that's going on. And the statistics, if you're not paying attention to those, your progression is not going to be nearly as good, positive as you'd want it to be. Knowing the statistical information can also help you set realistic goals, which is very important for me personally heading into Spain. At the time of recording this video, there is 1,144 participants registered to compete at the World Championships, representing over 65 countries. In the individual rounds, there can be a maximum of 200 participants, with 85 of those from each round moving on to the semifinals. So in the worst case scenario, if all 200 people show up, that is 42.5% of people that will move on to the finals, which also means that's over 50% of people that will not move on to the finals. So on day one of the World Championships, at least half the people will be cut right from the start. In the semifinals, there are 180 people per round, and only 60 of those people will move on. So that's just 33% of the competitors from each of the three semifinal rounds. And it's still, 33% is not a low number, but it is 2/3 of the people will not move on, and the competition is even tougher when it comes to the semifinal rounds. And that's probably the round that I'm most nervous for. If I can get past that to the finals, I'll be thrilled. But the semifinal round, I think, will be the toughest overall. That will leave a total of 180 people for the final round, which will be the top 180 people in the world, essentially, for this. And yes, there are some people that are not attending this year that are some big names from certain countries, but if you don't show up, you don't get counted towards that. Yes, there's a possibility that they may be better, but whoever shows up on the actual day and to the competition for at least 2025, those will be the top 180 people, 180 puzzlers in the world. My ultimate goal is to make it to the finals. Winning is not on the table. It's a completely unrealistic goal to have. If that was my only goal heading into Spain, I'm going to be very disappointed in myself. If you wrote me going to Spain as a movie script, it would be completely unbelievable even in that sense. So winning, no, but making it to the finals, there is a possibility for it. But like I said, it's that semifinal round in particular that I'm most concerned about. But there's also no guarantee I make it out of the individual qualification round. So who knows? And there's only 2 weeks to go till I find out. My minimalist goal at the World Championships is to make it to the semifinals for two reasons. The first is to kind of prove to myself that I can go up against top puzzlers from other countries around the world. I've done pretty well in Canada so far, but it's nice to see how I kind of compare with some of the top people from Spain, Germany, Netherlands, Finland, all the different, Australia is a big one, US, see how I kind of stack up against some of their top puzzlers as well. I'm not going to be beating their top puzzlers, but let's see how close I can get. The second reason is my qualification round is the very first round, round A, on the first day. So if I do not make it into the semifinals, it means that my individual experience at the World Championships will be over 90 minutes into a 6-day competition. So I won't feel great if that's the case. I also don't know how I'll react with the rest of the week going on, or how my focus will be. I will still have my pairs and the teams events, but will I be distracted and kind of replaying that individual qualification round in my head if I don't make it through? Will it distract me from the pairs and the teams, or will it motivate me even more to do better in those and kind of have a little bit of a redemption story when it comes to the pairs and teams events? I have no idea how my mind will react going into that situation, so safest way is just to make it to the individual semifinals, and we'll go from there. But it is important to prepare, so how am I doing that? The first is by doing as many Ravensburger puzzles as possible. I'm not doing puzzles from any other brand with the exception of 2, and that's for some virtual competitions I've signed up for just to kind of help get ready for Worlds. But for the most part, every day for the past few months, it's been purely Ravensburger puzzles. I want to get used to how the pieces feel in my hands, the weight, the texture of the puzzles. If I kept jumping from brand to brand, the style is going to be different. How a puzzle looks is going to be different in terms of glossy, matte, if it's going to be different types of cuts. I don't need to confuse anything. So sticking with Ravensburger puzzles straight through. There's some differentiation within that. For example, the circle puzzles, they're slightly different with their piece size and texture, as well as the Dulk series puzzles. Slightly different. Their pieces are slightly bigger. It's a slightly different cut than the other Ravensburger puzzles, but practicing these as frequently as possible is going to benefit me going to Worlds. In total, by the time I land in Spain, I will have practiced approximately just over 60 different Ravensburger 500-piece puzzles. There's a few 1,000-piece puzzles I'm working on separately. That's different. But for the individual rounds, yeah, about over 60 Ravensburger puzzles. More heavily focused on the standard rectangle ones, but a few circles and squares have been thrown in there as well. This will allow me to test out a wide range of images, artist styles, image textures, and different cuts that Ravensburger uses. They don't have very many cuts, but if you can kind of get a bit more familiar with those, that might be beneficial as well. This could also provide an advantage when it comes to the individual qualifiers. In the individual qualifier rounds, all the puzzles have already been released. So if you had every single Ravensburger 500-piece puzzle in the world, you would have the puzzles you would get in the qualification round. Now, there are hundreds of Ravensburger 500-piece puzzles. The odds of matching are low, not zero, but if you don't do a lot of puzzles, your chances are going to be absolutely zero. So if one of those 60 puzzles that I've practiced show up, I'll have a slight advantage. Now, some puzzles are exclusive to certain continents or countries, which makes it hard to get in other places. Canada itself does not have its own Ravensburger store, so we have to order through the US or through Europe, which can have its challenges and costs. Our stores do sell Ravensburgers, our local stores, but selection over time is limited to what they can get. But the more you can practice, the more you'll be prepared in the event one of those puzzles in the qualification round matches what you've done. And with the new rule this year, where you'll be given 2 puzzles to choose from in the individual qualifiers, your chances of having a puzzle you've already done before double. So practicing as many as I can. However, if one of those 2 puzzles does show up and you've done it, there's not a guarantee that you'll actually pick that one. It could be a puzzle that you've done before and it's just extremely challenging for you. My personal puzzle that I really hope does not show up in my qualifier round as an option is Rabbit Recital. I cannot get my head around it no matter how much I practice. I've done it a few times. My time gets incrementally faster, but that will be the worst case scenario for me. There are other puzzles I'm not looking forward to. They might show up. For example, A Walk in the Rain is not something I would like to see. Hope from the Dalk series is one I would not like to see. But overall, Rabbit Recital by far is the last puzzle that I want to see show up at Worlds. That being said, it's not just about the quantity of the puzzles you're doing, but the quantity, not quality, quantity of the repetitions as well. So yes, you can do one puzzle once and be like, great, I've done that one, and move on. But if you have time to go through puzzles over and over and over again, that's definitely going to benefit your time. It will get faster. It will definitely help you within the individual rounds, individual qualifiers if that puzzle shows up. But it also lets you notice individual aspects within the puzzle. Certain images have little secrets and stuff in there that you might not notice when you're doing your first go around because everything's going so quick. But the more you can practice, the better. An example of noticing little aspects within a puzzle would be the Dalk series. There are 4 puzzles so far within that series, and the images from the artist are kind of insane, I guess it would be a word to use for it. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in those images. But when you look at them as a series and when you look at them individually, you'll notice little aspects. For example, there is a significant gradient in most of the skies within the puzzle, and you can kind of tell how those go. There is also a heart that appears predominantly in each of the 4 puzzles. There's a few other aspects as well, but I'm not giving away all the secrets in this video. It is important to keep practicing these puzzles over and over again, whether it's the same puzzle or different puzzles, whatever you possibly can do. 5 out of 7 days a week is heavily dedicated towards completing as many puzzles as possible. I will take 1, maybe 2 days off per week to get some other stuff done because there's always other stuff to do. It might be prepping stuff for this channel or recording like I am now. It can just be to rest my hands too. And most importantly, let my mind and brain relax a little bit. There's also a stamina aspect to puzzling that is not talked about a lot, especially when it comes to training. And that is something I also work on. And there are 2 types of stamina to practice. The first is mental stamina. When you're speed puzzling, you need to be consistently and intensely focused on the puzzle in front of you. And while you are doing one thing, you are already thinking about what's going to be coming up next. Your brain does not stop moving and telling your hands what to do, your eyes where to look. There's a lot going on in the 30, 40, 50, 60, however many minutes it is that it takes you to complete a 500-piece puzzle. It can be tiring. You'll also be trying to remind yourself what pieces you've seen, where you've placed them down on the table if you've not put them directly into the puzzle. You'll be looking at empty spaces in the puzzle and trying to think of, oh, has there been a piece that I've seen that does go there? There are countless things that you are doing all at once when you are doing a puzzle or speed puzzling specifically. And this is where the casual puzzler may sometimes have difficulty understanding doing a puzzle through a speed puzzler's eyes and trying to figure out how you're doing so many things at once and so quickly. But if you don't have that mental stamina to consistently do this for the entire time you're puzzling, it's going to slow you down eventually. While you're practicing puzzles, it is important to try to do as a range of difficulties as well. So I have in my stockpile of puzzles some quite simple ones that I can get through in 30 minutes and under 40 minutes. There are also some that getting under an hour is a huge challenge. And I did a puzzle yesterday and it was the first time for a ravensburger in a while that I've been over 90 minutes, which is horrifying because that is the time limit in the qualifiers. So I'm hoping that puzzle doesn't show up. I don't think it will in an individual round, but I'm prepared. But the reason I also do more challenging puzzles that do take longer is if I'm only practicing puzzles that take me 35 minutes and a challenging one does show up at the qualification round or the semifinals or the finals, that's going to take me an hour, 70 minutes, whatever it might be. If I've only done very, very quick puzzles, once I get to that 40-minute mark or 45 minutes, I'm not going to have the mental stamina to keep going for the rest of the puzzle, and I will slow down significantly. So being able to practice for a very short sprint of 35 minutes or a slightly longer race of an hour or 75 minutes, it's good to have the ability to switch back and forth. It also takes time to develop that mental stamina as well. You may be practicing a lot of puzzles and yet getting through them in 40 minutes or so, or 45 minutes, whatever, and think, you know what, if it's a tougher puzzle on the day, I'll just focus for 10 more minutes or 20 more minutes. It isn't just something that you can just do. It's like training any other aspect of your body. It does take time to work on over a long period of time. The second stamina is physical stamina, and this applies mainly to puzzlers' hands, back, and upper legs. For hands, this is obvious. You need to be able to keep moving your hands as fast as possible for extended periods of time without them getting sore or stiff. If you're attending Worlds, or for people who have attended national events that take place over an entire weekend, there is a lot of puzzling that takes place, and if you're not taking care of your hands, you will start to feel it over the course of the competition. So on a daily basis, yes, I am doing hand exercises, especially with my left hand. One, because it's not as strong as my right hand. It doesn't have the same dexterity as my right hand. And the injury that I had from a few years ago still plays a factor in my puzzling as well. So doing daily exercises with my left hand is important. Yes, there will be a video at some point that focuses on specific non-dominant hand training and everyday tasks that you can do to help build up the strength and dexterity of that hand without relying on doing puzzles. So if you want to see that video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out the Speed Puzzling 101 tips and tricks videos, where I give quick speed puzzling lessons in under 10 minutes. For legs and back, even at my not so tall height, I still need to crouch over the table. For those of you that are taller, this will be more pronounced. For tall people, yes, you have longer arms, so that might balance it out a little bit, but you are still crouching over the table, and that is going to impact the upper legs and the back. I tend to stand a lot more when I'm doing speed puzzling. If I sit down, I will go slower. And it's significant enough that I will notice the difference. It also doesn't keep up the intensity in my mind quite as much if I'm sitting down, so I like to stand. And hopefully no one is standing perfectly straight up with your knees locked and everything else, because that's an awkward way to stand. So if you are standing and slightly crouched, practicing doing stuff for your upper legs and lower back will be important. So as I am slightly crouched over and your knees are slightly bent, you will feel it in a bit of stress on your upper legs, in your quads, and probably along your lower back as well. For me, with previous sports injuries on my lower back, I feel a little bit more. Also, knee injuries from sports, I didn't think would be impacting my puzzling ability, but if I'm not working on these, it definitely would impact them a lot more. So for me, every day at the gym, especially leading up to a big competition like this, every day is leg day, and every day is a bit of a lower back workout day as well. With proper rest, always rest. But there's physical actually going to the gym and doing weight training so I can speed puzzle more effectively. It's probably not something that comes up a lot, I would think, with a lot of speed puzzlers in general, where you're going to the gym to do better at puzzling. It's odd. But back to the actual puzzling aspect as well, as that is the most important. If you're redoing puzzles multiple times, which, as I said, you should be recording the times as well. If you can tape or video record the puzzles that you're doing and look back to kind of see where you're doing well, where you might be going slower within a puzzle, that can be beneficial too. but hopefully you are getting faster with the puzzle each time. For me, I will try to do a puzzle as many times as I can within a day, or spread it out over the course of a few days until I physically can't get faster at that puzzle at all. So I'll know where my max kind of is from it and know that, okay, that's my limit for this puzzle. And I can use that to match up with other puzzles. So when we get to Spain, if I have the option between two puzzles and I've done both of them, I'll know which one overall I can do faster. So it's a good way to prepare for that, but also, again, a good way to remind my hands how fast they can go. If I get to the point where I feel like I've maxed out on a puzzle, I will attempt some different strategies first before moving on. That's where looking at recordings of me doing the puzzle can come in helpful. For instance, the Hello Vinyl puzzle with the big blue disc in it. I tend to start with that blue disc most of the time, but there are other places in that puzzle I could start instead. So I'll try that and see if that kind of makes me go faster, if I'm maybe wasting too much time on the blue disc, and it could just be something I've not considered. And we tend to redo puzzles in the same order every time, but that might not be the best way to do that. If you don't have time to keep going through puzzles over and over again, you can also look on different Instagram pages. People are posting their puzzle attempts all the time. See what they're doing. Look for the top puzzlers in the world who post as well. See the approach that they take and maybe try to recreate what they're doing. Will you go as fast as them? Doubtful, especially if you're watching pages like Victor. They go incredibly fast at what they're doing, so you're probably not matching them, but you can see the approach they take, see if it works for you to improve what time you're capable of. When I'm practicing each puzzle, I will set goals for myself. I'll set 3 specific time goals. For the vast majority of puzzles, I will have a initial goal of getting it done under an hour. That should be maybe okay to get through the qualifier rounds. Times get faster every single year, so maybe being just under an hour might not be enough this year. It also depends on what puzzles are revealed, but that will give me some confidence heading into the qualifier round that maybe I can get to the semifinals. Just getting under an hour probably won't be enough to make it into the finals, but again, who knows what puzzles will show up. The semifinal round is an unreleased puzzle, so everyone's on the same playing field. But like I said, the primary goal is getting through the qualifiers. The second goal that I have is a specific time of 51 minutes and 1 second and trying to get underneath that. There is a reason I have chosen that time. I am not revealing it on here at the moment. Some people on my Instagram and TikTok have attempted to make a guess as to why I've chosen that specific time as a goal, and they've gotten close, but no one's gotten the entire reason why yet. If they do, I'll let them know. I won't keep it a secret from them, but if you want to guess, leave a comment in the comment section below why I chose 51:01 as a specific goal time. And then my third goal is under 40 minutes. That has only happened once, I think, that I've gotten that on a first attempt. The under 40 minutes is hopefully what I can get after multiple tries. There are reasons for that time, which I might get into. Yeah, I'll get into it. The reasons for getting under 40 minutes is 1, to prove to my hands and brain that it can go that fast. It provides some confidence that you are able to do it. You're able to think that fast, move that fast. It's a real possibility of it happening. I think at this point I have 14 or 15 puzzles where I've gotten under the 40-minute mark after a few attempts, some more than others, but under 40 minutes I know is possible. If one of those puzzles shows up for the qualifier round, I will be thrilled. Unlikely, but always possible. The second reason is that it's just for repetition. Like I said, it's just to remind myself what those puzzles are like. If they're easy for me, they're going to be easier for a lot of people as well. So if I can even improve on those times that are 39 minutes or 38 minutes, and I can get that down to 35 or 33, and one of those puzzles show up, that could make a difference between if I get into the semifinals or I don't get into the semifinals. 1 minute difference is huge. Seconds can be huge. There are people every year that miss out on qualifying for the next round by seconds. So it is important to practice even the easier puzzles a few times. Another training approach I take is, I mentioned puzzles that I've maxed out on. I tend to put those off to the side once I know I can't go any faster with them. However, a couple weeks later, I will pull those puzzles back off the shelf and go through them again to see if my time is similar. It will likely not be as fast because I've done so many other puzzles. There will be a couple of the small details I might have forgotten. But if my time is within the same range, especially if it's within a minute, I'll be thrilled with that. If I drop 5 minutes or 10 minutes, then there's a different concern with that. And I need to think about what I'm missing, what I'm forgetting, and what I definitely have to remember if one of those puzzles shows up at Worlds. The last little bit of preparation I'm willing to divulge in this specific video is if you can practice with others, that's going to be a benefit as well. Each week, I'll do some virtual practicing with other individuals. I won't be specific with that in case they don't want people to know that they're also practicing, but I do practice each week a couple times with people virtually. And we may be doing the same puzzle, we may be doing different puzzles, but it's a good way to kind of keep that competitive aspect going. It's not nearly the same as competing in person. I much prefer in-person competitions. I like the adrenaline that comes along with it. But even doing virtual stuff, it keeps you from going down to a 0 adrenaline level. It keeps you kind of bubbling a little bit in that competitive mindset. So you're not trying to go from 0 to 100 in Spain, where you spent the last couple months just timing yourself, which is important, but working individually. And then suddenly you're going up against 200 other people. And you have to get into that mentality of, oh, it's a competition now, and getting out of a bit more relaxed practice mindset that you've had going into the competition. Everything I'm doing has a goal and a purpose, and that is hopefully to do well at Worlds. Will it all pay off? Will I be ready when I sit down inside of that dome surrounded by a bunch of other people with similar goals? Only time will tell. For now, that is a bit of background information on what I'm doing individually to prepare for the World Jigsaw Puzzle Championships in just over 2 weeks from the time this video is recorded. And there are a few other things that I'm doing, but we all have to have a few secrets. That is it for this chapter. Over the next few weeks, I will continue to be talking mainly about the World Championships. It is the biggest puzzling event in the world each year, so yes, that's obviously going to be a focus. Make sure to click subscribe to follow along with that and see how I get ready for Spain. There'll be a few other fun videos coming up that are unique specifically to Worlds, and I'll also be posting stuff when I'm in Spain as well. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. And episode 3 of Puzzles Chatty is now available on this channel, where I sit down with one of Canada's top speed puzzlers, Katie Delude. And on this channel, there is also weekly Speed Puzzling 101 tips and tricks videos. That is it for today. As always, happy puzzling. Bye.